Hi, my name is Nanima Tigela. Welcome to my YouTube channel. So today I want us to talk about Bongani Dance's so-called confession in front of Captain Rapat. Was he a captain or what? Whatever, Officer Rapat, let me put it that way, because at this point, I don't know what he was at the time. So what if one of the most important pieces of the evidence in the Senzo Meyiwa murder case was never supposed to exist in the first place? Because right now, a serious question is emerging in court. Was Ntanzi's statement taken by someone who was not supposed to take it? And if that's true, then everything that follows becomes questionable. Let's break it down carefully. In South African law, when a suspect gives a confession, the rules are extremely strict. The person taking that statement must be completely neutral, not part of the investigation, and must not know the details of the case. Why? Because the law wants to make sure the confession is voluntarily, clean, and uninfluenced. Now, here is where things get uncomfortable. If the officer who took Ntanzi's first statement was actually part of the investigating team, then that officer was never supposed to take that statement in the first place. And that's not just a small mistake, that's a procedural red flag. Now, suddenly something else starts to make sense. Why are there two confessions? Think about it. If the first statement was taken improperly, then investigators would need to fix that problem. And how do you fix it? You take the accused to a magistrate, because a magistrate is independent. A magistrate will ask, are you speaking freely? Were you threatened? Have you made a statement to anyone else before? Now, here is the critical moment. If Ntanzi said no to that last question, but there was already a previous statement, then we have a serious contradiction. A contradiction like that don't just disappear. They become weapons in court. Now let's go deeper into the entire situation. Even if the state relies on the magistrate's confession, the defense can still argue something powerful, that the first statement contaminated the second one. In other words, you can't fix a broken process by repeating it. If the court agrees with that, then the confession itself will be challenged, possible, even excluded. Now, let's bring another layer, the bail application, okay? The state appears ready to rely heavily on Ntanzi's bail record, but the strategy is very dangerous because bail hearings are not trials. They are rushed, incomplete, and focus only on release, not guilt. So when the state tries to use bail answers as if they are full evidence, the defense can respond, he was not defending the case, he was applying for bail. And that argument can weaken everything. Now, here is what many people are missing. The more the state pushes on these technical contradictions, the more the defense gets opportunities to expose procedural flaws, inconsistencies, and possible misconduct. And right now, if you are looking at things, you can see Ukutubalo is grasping at straws, and you can see that he's Mr. Desperado. Desperado. Oh, he's very desperate. And that is why anything moves. Desperado. Because now someone is very desperate. And the question that lingers is also, why is Baloyi desperate for these confessions to be accepted or be fully admissible? Because currently they are not fully admissible. The question now is, why is it desperate for them to be admissible? And in a case like this, built heavily on circumstantial evidence, those cracks can become very dangerous. So the real question is no longer just what did Ntanzi say. The real question is, was the process used to obtain the statement legally clean? Because in court, process is everything. And once the process is compromised, even the strongest evidence can start to fall apart. Now, when it comes to this thing about Rapati, that is why I'm one of those people that is looking forward to a day when the defense brings us someone who's going to bring the list of those 40 investigators. Who were the names of those 40 investigators? Well, I would. What if Gininda's name is also? I will be very happy. I will be very happy if Gininda's name is also there, appears there. But I need someone who's gonna bring the list of the 40 investigators, because that list can tell us who was involved in this case, when, which year, why they were fired, who was investigating when. And the other thing that I think we really need as the country, not just the 40 investigators, but what were their findings? Surely, even if it was nothing much, we want to hear their findings. In fact, the defense at this point needs to bring those 40 investigators. Who are they? Mind you, we are still in questioning other issues here. Why was Musigili never called? Why is there no, what you call, no statement from Musigili that Baloyi ran through? Why not? Why was there no Musigili statement? Why was there no Shadrach Sibiya? These are, where is Ndlovu's statement also? Where? Those statements are very crucial. Where are they? Do you understand? And we must sit here and accept it. No, Ndlovu died. We want to hear his statement. We want to see, what did he write down? Where is his statement? Where is Sibiya's statement? And then why didn't Sibiya and Musigili were not called? Do you see there's a lot of things that are not making sense? That is why I want to know, was Rapatu not in the list of the 40 investigators? Was Gininda not in the list of the 40 investigators? Was Mboto not in the list of 40 investigators? We just want to know. We're not saying they were. We're just asking, were they never in that list? We want to know. Because ngeke sifuna ukubona kuningi kaloku okwenzekayo kule case, so ngoku asisathembi nix. So now that the reason I'm saying that we need to see all of that, the process needs to be so, what you call, transparent. They must put it there. Who we know of the team about Joyce Buthelezi, Nabo Makubo, Mishak Makubo. We know of Abo, who's this? The other names, oh, I forgot the names. But again, we want that list. It's very important. It's pertinent for this case. We want to see those things. We want to see those things. At this point, kuningi nje okuqhubekayo okunida i-third eye. We want to get to the bottom of it all. 2 confessions? Something is very wrong there. 2 confessions? Something is very, very wrong there. We want to see, why did they see the need to do 2 confessions? We want to see the need to do 2 confessions. Yaye yokuthini? Emdaka le ndlebe ndiyiva nje. So why did they do that? Why did they do that? Why? Why Gininda saw it fit that, okay, after Rapatu, he's a peace officer, must right? Why need a third person, a second person? Why do you need a magistrate? And also, Lendea's confessions, it's very tricky. It's very tricky because it takes us back to Moses' confessions. Why Moses' confession in Amanyamaka, Abo Makim? And at this point, I wonder if Umuzu Yabazo Makim. Oh my Kimbi, no Buthelezi. Uyabas. Uyabas oh my Kimbi. The Buthelezi brothers umuzi. I'm just wondering. Anyway, guys, what are your thoughts when it comes to this? Because the two confession shock, there's something wrong there. Corner, why you need the thoughts that it will be okay for him to go um and check for the second person to do another confession? Why? She must make it make sense. What are your thoughts when it comes to this? Let's talk in the comment section. I want to hear your views. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. Please make sure you do not forget to like, to share, to comment. And most importantly, please make sure you are subscribed on the channel. Please make sure you are watching the videos up until the end and you are watching the ads that are coming through. When you are doing that, you will be supporting this channel financially and in numbers. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. Bye-bye.